Marc Sterne here. Welcome back to the official podcast for the U.S. Open Championships presented by the United States Tennis Association. I'm very excited right now. I've had great guests all week. I am thrilled to have another one right in front of me, Julia Elbaba, current player, but dealing with some injuries, but has been kind enough to sit in the U.S. Open radio booth to do some analysis for us. Julia, thanks so much for taking time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here at the U.S. Open doing some media, watching some great tennis. I couldn't be happier.
Is it weird for you or cool for you to be looking at the game from this different angle through like an analyst's eyes?
I've actually really enjoyed it. I studied media at the University of Virginia and I graduated in 2016. So media is definitely something I'm very passionate about. So it's actually quite interesting looking at tennis in a bit of a different angle. And I feel like when I do return to tennis after I heal up, I tore my UCL ligament in my right elbow. So it's been quite a journey. I don't need to have Tommy John surgery, though, so that is the good news. But I feel like when I do return on the tennis court, I feel like my tennis IQ has definitely gone up.
How tough is it for you to deal with an injury like that? I mean, you're in your prime, you want to be out on the court and competing at the highest level, which I know you will be again, but then you get this injury. How tough is it to sort of work through that?
It's definitely extremely difficult, but it was also nice for me to take a step away from the tennis court for a little bit. I've been dealing with a lot of pain, and it was a little bit misdiagnosed, I want to say. I was told a lot that it was inflammation, so I kept going and going and going, and finally I said, Mom, Dad, I'm in way too much pain. I need to go to a very, very good doctor. So I went to the Yankee specialist, actually, Dr. Chris Ahmad, who's located in New York City, and he's taken extremely good care of me. I'm already back to hitting forehands and backhands at physical therapy, not on the tennis court.
You're like, you just gonna make sure the doc knows that. It's like, doc's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Not yet. That's gotta be tough too as an athlete, because we're all sort of trained to push through. Like, don't just, come on, it's a little pain, push through it, you'll be okay. But it's a fine line between, okay, am I just being tough or am I being stupid?
Exactly. And for a while, I was telling myself that I wasn't being tough enough. And this is coming from a girl like me that gets cavities filled without Novocaine. So I'm telling you, I have a pretty good pain tolerance, but this was just unbearable.
Now, you mentioned a moment ago about getting in the booth with us, that it was good because it gives you a chance to take a break from tennis, get outside of tennis for a little bit. What is life like for you on tour? Is it just all consuming? Is there I mean, I'm sure there's good and there's bad, but just give me kind of like a peekaboo view of it.
So basically, I actually train here in Flushing Meadows at the USTA Tennis Center, the Billie Jean King Tennis Center, and you're basically playing tennis, doing conditioning, both strength and cardio and footwork, agility. You're doing it every day from really morning till night. And it's very strenuous, both mentally and physically. Tennis really is a lonely journey. It's true. You're on the road a lot. You don't get to keep up with your friends and family like you would want to, but luckily there's FaceTime so you can stay in touch with everyone. But it's not the same as in-person interaction, of course. So it's definitely, you're giving up a lot of things, making a lot of sacrifices, but it's moments like the US Open when you drop down to the court after you win a match that makes it so worth it.
And how great is it? You're a Long Island native. You're here at the US Open. This is really in your backyard. How cool is this tournament for you?
The U.S. Open has always been really special to me as a little child, coming and watching and just learning so much from the pros till playing Junior U.S. Open. I played 3 times the Junior U.S. Open and a bunch of times qualified, and then didn't have too much luck in the main draw of the Junior U.S. Open, but always had that home crowd, which was a lot of pressure, by the way. My best was always in the Junior Australian Open, furthest away from home possible. No crowd, nothing, just playing by myself with my parents. And then playing the collegiate event that they had at the U.S. Open, which I don't know why they canceled. I'm very sad about that, but I made it to the finals about 2 times, which was really exciting. And it just really gives college players an opportunity to play on the big stage and feel like give them the exposure. And it's really nice.
I can't imagine the thrill of being the caliber of player to play on these courts. It just I would grip up. I'd be like, I can't do it. Even with no fans supporting me, I'd be like, the pressure's too much. So that's with all your fans and your friends around you here. That's got to be a lot. But how cool is it that you got to do this?
Oh, I'm very blessed and thankful. The biggest thing for all of us is staying healthy mentally and physically. Let me tell you, all the problems occur when your mind goes off or your body goes off. If you can keep everything else intact, then you're in a good place.
Well, I can't wait for you to get fully healthy. Doc, she's doing a great job. So she's only hitting those tennis balls in rehab. She's not doing it on the court. We'll get you back on the court, and you'll be playing on this court soon enough, and I can't wait to see that, Julia. Speaking of matches on the court, we got 4 we want to preview with you right now. Svitolina versus Konta. Svitolina has just been on fire. Konta had a terrific match the other day to get into these quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on that match?
So I actually watched Konta play her first round against Kasatkina. That was a really impressive match from Konta. She really outplayed Kasatkina. But then I also watched Svitolina play last night at Ash against Madison Keys. I actually wrote an article on usopen.org about it. She served impeccably. If she can serve like that against Konta, there's no chance that anyone can take her out in the whole draw. I'm telling you. She only lost 5 points on her first serve, or on her serve, in the first set. I forget what the stats were in the second set, but just served very solidly. I'm picking Svitolina. Okay.
What about Serena versus Kwang Wang?
Kwang Wang had a huge win against, Ash Barty?
Yes.
Is that very impressive? I didn't think she'd be able to come out that strong in her first round of 16 appearance. But let me tell you, my money's on Serena Williams. She has the experience. Her head has really come together. She's focused. I hope her ankle's okay. I know she had a little bit of a fall in her last round, but my money's on Serena.
When you watch Serena play, how inspiring is that for you? She's at the top of the heap, and you see everything that she does, the focus, the training, and everything that she's gone through physically to be still at the top of her game like this is just incredible.
She is such an amazing inspiration and role model to all. Throughout the years, she's brought 100% focus, dedication, and intensity to all her matches. And over the years, she's just become a very genuine and very likable, relatable person. So every American and every person in the game of tennis, or any athlete in the world, definitely can look up to her.
Let's switch our focus to the men's side. Stan Wawrinka had an interesting match last night. He was playing great. Obviously, was not the ending anybody really wanted or thought, even Stan, when Djokovic had to retire because of the shoulder injury. But he moves on, and he faces the guy who has really become the villain of this tournament, even though I've talked to him a couple of times, and he seems like a sweetheart to me, but the crowd has been booing him. He says it inspires him to play even better. Of course, I'm talking about the number 5 seed, Daniil Medvedev.
So it's looking like it's a matchup between the most liked person against the least liked person. I'm pretty sure we know which side the crowd is going to take. Medvedev obviously has been bringing a lot of controversy to this year's U.S. Open, saying, you guys are giving me the energy I need for the next 5 rounds. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I actually was telling people I think he's playing some reverse psychology on the New York crowd. Absolutely. But he had a very close one with Dominic Koepfer, the Tulane graduate, one of my good friends. I do think Wawrinka is going to power through this matchup.
It's going to be a fun one to watch. Medvedev has been on fire this month. He's been in 3 finals, winning one of those. And his game is very tough. But Wawrinka, when he gets on this stage, he's really, really tough. Speaking of really tough, there's some other guy named Roger who's playing on the other side. Some dude named Federer. Yeah, who's he? Playing against Grigor Dimitrov, who's made his first quarterfinals at the U.S. Open. It's a great story. But just watching Roger play is always a great story. For me, watching him, it's almost like art out there. He's so graceful, like a dancer, like a ballet dancer.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. He looks like he's just gliding out there. It looks like he's ice skating.
Yes.
Like Rockefeller Center. I don't know. Christmas came early. He just slides and glides on Arthur Ashe Stadium or whatever court he's put on. He's just a positive person, a great sport, and he plays Grigor Dimitrov, who had not been doing super well lately, but clearly doing better this week. I think we both pick Federer to win this matchup. That's probably the clearest winner of all these matchups in my opinion, but I think it'll be a good match and give Federer some confidence going into the semis.
I think one thing that Federer won't do is overlook Dimitrov. I think other people might, especially with Djokovic out. And you think, oh, cool, Djokovic is out. I don't have to worry about that in a possible semifinal match. But if there's one guy who's not going to do that, it's going to be Federer.
Federer always gives every player full credit and just doesn't underestimate anyone. I think that's what makes him so great. He comes into every match really zoned in. Despite losing the first set of his first 2 rounds, I was actually in a press conference and they were asking him about it, and I was just like that's not a question you ask. Like, why did you lose the first set? He still won the match. Come on, but that's how great he is. People can question why he lost the first set.
Right. Why weren't you perfect?
Yeah,
You're supposed to be perfect, Roger. Actually, a friend of ours has a theory that maybe Roger lets the other guy get that set just out of the kindness of his heart, so that 20 years from now they can say, "Look, I took a set off of Federer, man. Just to be able to go and have that. I'm still going to win, but just have that." I have no idea if it's true, but I love the urban legend of that.
I mean, that's really funny, but I don't think so, just because, all those extra sets, they take extra time, and the less you play, of course, the fresher you are for the later rounds, which Federer typically makes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he does seem to make those later rounds, doesn't he? Yeah, it's like death, taxes, and Roger. That's the list. Julia, this is fantastic, and I've loved the matches up to this point, and now we're getting closer and closer. It's really, they're getting more pressure-packed, the tennis is getting better, and it's just, we're going to draw close to the championship, and I'm just having a ball with this, and it's been so much fun chatting with you. So listen, so you're a tennis player, you're a scholar, you're a writer, now you're a broadcaster. You said you're working on a podcast. Now, is it your podcast, or were you just jumping on other people's?
I actually did create a podcast. It's called Jules on the Hustle, and it was made, I promise you, just to get on-air reps, to practice speaking. So when moments like this came, I'd be able to chat with you.
Well, you're doing great with this. In fact, you probably have my job in about 5 minutes, Julia. I also know you have an Instagram handle you want to tell people about.
Yeah, follow me, guys, at Jules Elbaba, at JulesElbaba.
There you go. It's a great follow, and I can't wait for you to get healthy and get back on the court. But in the meantime, you're doing great at this. So thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's check back in next year.
I love it. I love it. That was Julia Elbaba. I am Marc Sterne. This will conclude the podcast for the day. But don't worry, we're going to be back tomorrow with all the results, all the highlights, and all the analysis that we can give you. So don't go anywhere. This has been the official podcast for the U.S. Open Championships, presented by the United States Tennis Association. For the entire U.S. Open radio crew, I'm Marc Sterne, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the official U.S. Open Championships podcast, presented by the United States Tennis Association.